Welcome to our event. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. On behalf of NOVA SBE Data Science Knowledge Center, I welcome you to our event, Art, AI, and Blockchain. This event brings together artists, curators, entrepreneurs, and other people that are interested in this topic. And we will start with a keynote by our guest of honor, computer scientist and AI artist ALAgrApHY. He's also known as ALAgrApHY. And followed by a discussion panel with Professor Liz Sinilovic, curator Pauline Fussell, and artist and architect João Simões. Thank you all so much for being here and sharing your knowledge today. Also with us on the left, your right, is Daniel Barradas and Rita Santos, and they will be creating a live painting as we speak and create a digital painting and an NFT out of it. I encourage you also to visit our digital exhibition, which is ALAgrApHY's latest LF art collection, AI generated, and it's also available online. And tomorrow we're going to have an NFT minting workshop, also given by ALAgrApHY, where you can all learn how to mint and sell an NFT. I'm also encouraging you to download the Playbook app. From our partner, Data Science Portuguese Association. DSPI is a non-profit that brings together data science and AI stakeholders with the mission of empowering data science for a better world. The Playbook app is basically a knowledge app where you can all get to know more about this very complex topic. And today on the app, we can actually also find demo video on what are NFTs. So if you still cannot wrap your mind around what are NFTs, this demo video is for you. And they also prepared a special quiz where you can actually learn more about the topic, test your knowledge, and work your way through art, AI, NFTs, and blockchain. So just go to the Google Play Store, go to the App Store, and download the app. And now I'm very pleased to welcome Daniel Trassa, Dean of Nova School of Business and Economics, to share with us some words.
Good evening, everybody. It is amazing not just to be here, but it's amazing to have this event happening on our campus. So my first words are, of course, Astrid, thank you for the introduction to the artist. Thank you for choosing to come to Nova and to show your art here. And to Lade and the Data Science Knowledge Center, where is Lenya? Somewhere there, for actually putting all this together. I think that why do I feel so overjoyed with having this event here? I think we are in a century where technology seems to be absolutely boundless on what it can achieve. And yet, at the same time, the weirdest stuff is happening if you just turn on the TV. What sense does it make that we can do so much with technology, perhaps even solve most of the world's problems, and at the same time, we keep on making the same mistakes over and over again as human beings? And I would like to just give you my own view on what that means, and I want us to connect to the art part of today's discussion. I do believe that we have, and above all, it's not just why these things happen, but how do we prepare people to deal with this? I think if a lot of what happens surprises us, is because we somehow lost sense of humanity and human beings, on the good things and on the bad things about it. I think we have created a view of the world which is oriented by technology and oriented by technocratic skills. So we're very good at both of these. And we have forgotten that through art and so many of the other ways, How is it that we create our own humanism as individuals? How is it that our skills, our ability to understand the world, depends on our ability to understand our common history as human beings, the stuff that brings us together, but also the disasters that we get ourselves into. And so I believe that what is happening in our world today demands that we, in a school like ours, go beyond the technology, go beyond the technocratic skills, and come back to art and humanism as the core skills of human beings to understand each other, to prevent us from doing the stupidities of the past, and make sure that we keep ourselves in the right track. And so my firmest desire is that from this event, which is possibly one of the first ones where we talk about art on this campus, where we talk about culture, where we talk about the limitations of technology, this is just the beginning of a process that we in our school need to embrace, which is this idea that when you train analysts and technologists, when you train financiers and managers, you need first and foremost to train human beings in what it means to be human. And so we are planning, and I'm letting you know this, we are planning to give a much bigger space in what we are programming for this campus on issues that are related to art, to culture, to history, to philosophy, with an understanding that these skills will actually allow us to create leaders, managers that are much more ready to deal with our world and prevent the kinds of disasters that you're seeing in our days. And this is what I wanted to bring, and because we're here to talk about art, I wanted to bring this to you, to this acknowledgement that the age of technologists, pure technologists, and the age of technocratics is over. We need to regain the age of humanists in decision-making, and that this is a priority for us as a school, and we'll embrace it wholeheartedly. Very soon I will be announcing a few initiatives on this area, okay? I wish you have a great discussion, but I want you to keep on pondering this. As you discuss NFTs, as you discuss AI, as you discuss blockchain, look at what's happening in the world and think about what you are talking about here and how it is that this all plays out in the one thing that matters, which is a future that is much more harmonious and peaceful for human beings. And I think nowadays we really need to regain that space and to bring that space back to universities and bring that space back to Nova. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Daniel. I'm now very happy to present to you our guest of honor, ALAgrApHY. He's both an artist, a painter, a filmmaker, a photographer, and also a scientist with a Ph.D. in complex systems and an expert in artificial intelligence. And he's using algorithms to teach machines how to make art. And he's among the pioneers of generating AI art. In 2018, he won the Digital Art Award in the Salon d'Automne in Paris, and ever since he has been exhibiting his artworks and installations in France and abroad, such as the Gulbenkian Museum, the Grand Palais, and the Salon Comparaison. I'm very pleased now to welcome ALAgrApHY. Please give him a warm welcome. Thank you. Al.
Thank you, Astrid. Thank you, Laid. Thank you to the School of Nova, School of Business and Economics. And thank you all for coming. It's a pleasure to be here. It's a pleasure to be talking about three of the most fascinating things, AI, art, and the blockchain. For those who don't know, thank you for, yeah. So, a week ago, yes, a couple of weeks ago, I was having an exhibition at the Grand Palais, and this artwork that you see over there, is a composition of thousands of unique paintings, generated each one of them with the help of artificial intelligence. Each one of them is a painting made by, in a way, by several artists that were brought to life by AI, as if they collaborated together to make this painting possible. And it was at an art fair where people have seen a lot of sculptures, a lot of paintings, a lot of photography, and they haven't seen much of this kind of stuff. It was at the Salon Comparaison, which is known for exhibiting Matisse, for exhibiting Magritte and Salvador Dali. And one of the questions that was most frequently asked was, how much time did it take you to make this artwork? And this is one of the questions that I was asked a couple of times over there as well. And I could simply tell them, well, it took algorithm 1 that much time, algorithm 2 that much time, the AI that much, the printing process, the shipping. I could also include the coding part. I could go back to the research, the postdoc, Ph.D. I could go back to when I got passionate about art and science, and way back to when I was a twinkle in my father's eyes. My father is an artist who did not encourage me to become one. And that's probably the society more than my father. But he did this for a great reason, because that made me see art from a new perspective. That made me see art from that of a scientist, from that of a complex system expert. And so in 2016, I came across an article, a scientific article, about an image classifier. It's basically Generative Adversarial Networks. It was published in 2014 by Ian Goodfellow, and it was a simple classifier using artificial neural networks. It's made of 2 components, the generator and the discriminator. Basically, the generator generates infinitely many images based on the training data, and the discriminators tries to tell whether these are real or fake and whether they could be classified in the classes. And I thought, rather than training it on these handwritten numerals, which was the main training data back then, what if we feed it some artwork? Now, I was too foolish to think of such a thing because of computational limits, and so I thought, let's step this down into just feeding it some portraits. It was portraits I've taken images of all around the world for a project called 1001 Faces. And after running this algorithm for a couple of days, I start getting people that do not exist, people that have nothing to do even with the training data. Now, in 2016, this is kind of freaky and magical, okay? Because today, with using StyleGAN generators, especially StyleGAN 3 and StyleGAN 2, we get images of humans that look more human than humans. So, but back then, you see these little portraits of people over there called children of the cloud. They look broken, imperfect. However, they represent somehow humanity with all its imperfections and all its diversity, their origins, the different genders and different ages. So when put together, when united, which was the case in 2018, they could paint a picture about humanity and its diversity. And for me, this was the best thing that could happen, to pass this message on as an artivist. Even though later on I realized how big of a historical moment this was after Christie's sold the first AI-generated portrait using GANs, the same algorithm. However, there was something even larger than this that happened. It was that a whole school of art was created, because today we have about thousands of artists using AI to generate art, and some of them are really brilliant. And, but still, the AI is kind of a tool that needs tweaking with its hyperparameters, with the training data, with the outcome that needs to be curated by the artist. And so what makes it different than generative art that has existed for decades is that AI art has some kind of a surprise, some kind of a punchline, even for the artist himself, to say, well, this is good, or this is bad. This needs to be not to be shown, or this could be exhibited. And so AI has not only been generating images and artworks, but also being able to create interesting texts and poetry, even recipes if you want, using GPT-3 models by OpenAI. And some of these texts are really interesting, even though the AI has no consciousness about what is happening. So it's creating, if you want, a fake notion of very smart text by hacking our understanding of text when trained on thousands of our textual data. Okay. In addition to text generation, AI has also been used in film generation or post-production back in 2019, and more lately, even creating a whole movie, like from writing the scenario itself to visualizing it and even doing the text. And this is using text-to-image generation. So this is crazy. You might be asking, where is AI going next, right? Well, it's coming here to Nova School of Business. It's coming here with this Phygital exhibition. Phygital because it's both physical, and that is also thanks to a wonderful team that helped set up this exhibition that you have behind you. And digital because you have these images somehow stored on a blockchain that can be scanned and acquired in order to unlock a guide about all of these elephants and how they are connected. How each one of those represents an art school. And this was based on training the AI on paintings from this art school, which makes it somehow apply the style on the elephant itself. Interesting, right? So in a way, it's some kind of educational collection that brings us to NFTs. So if I lost anyone here, maybe 69 million US dollars could wake you up. You heard of this sale of Beeple's image for $69 million. You might be wondering, how could an image cost that much? Well, it's not even the image. It's a link to an image that costs that much. But that's the main point. The main point is that link to the image is stored in it as a token, as a, if you want, a data structure on a blockchain, and that could always be traced to its creator as the unique creator and cannot be changed. This is what non-fungible tokens mean. Okay? And to make a non-fungible token worth a lot of money, or worth to make it a digital asset of such an importance, you have its historicity, so who has acquired it for over the past periods of time. Its rarity, so how many editions are made of this, and its transactions, so who has owned it, and finally, its contribution to our society, like can it be used to unlock some kind of membership, to create a community, and to make people connected? So before NFTs, which was the rebranding of the word crypto art, we had crypto art. And one of the first collection of crypto arts was those CryptoPunks that are also worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the way you could see them as tokens, just like the coins that are available on the blockchain. And they can be traded using NFT platforms. So if let's say an NFT is an apple in a supermarket, the supermarket is the NFT platform, and the blockchain is the electricity that powers the supermarket, the gas that powers it, that runs the warehouse. Okay? Now, not all blockchains are made the same. And when this started, it started on Ethereum. When the CryptoPunks started, the CryptoKitties, and you have also the apes. They're all on the Ethereum blockchain. But we probably have some issues that Ethereum is working on, and we have alternatives such as something called clean NFTs or eco-friendly NFTs, which are much less consuming in terms of energy, so that they could validate the NFTs and make sure who is the owner and who sold it, for how much, etc. This is one of the least sexy of my slides. You have to forgive me, but it reveals something very important about disparity between NFT artists. And this is a distribution of the sales on one of the blockchains using one of the NFT platforms called Hiket Nunk. And even though we hear all the time about artists making millions and millions of sales, but unfortunately, it's a very skewed perspective of a huge Pareto law, with very few, 1.5%, making 50% of the whole sales. The reason why I bring this up, I think it's very important that if we move to the blockchain, which is the society of tomorrow, we take this into consideration. Not only in terms of disparity, of economical disparity, in which we would create a more peaceful world between its inhabitants, but also in terms of gender equality, in terms of diversity of where these artists are coming from. Because I don't think that necessarily the artists that are making the most money are the best, even though they are brilliant, they are wonderful, okay? But we would love to have a space for everyone in this ecosystem. Okay, and so just a quick take-home note before a couple of things. Make sure if you ever invest in great art with great messages and in clean structures, clean blockchain. And I could only show you the way, which we'll try to do tomorrow through a workshop in how to mint and how to explore this blockchain technology for buying and selling art. And I got to introduce myself. Now I would ask you in the next 1 minute if you could do so by scanning this QR code or going to this website, menti.com, and entering the code. It's just going to be some statistics. I won't steal your wallet or anything. And then, can I click this link? Click. Yeah. No questions? Okay. Okay. No problem. If they're not there, these people are here, and they have been wonderful to help set up this exhibition, the physical exhibition. Without them, this could not have been happening. Thank you. And as a token of gratitude, I would like to offer this huge mosaic for the Nova School of Business and Economics, and it's composed of tiny AI-generated understandings of each of the words, which is Nova, School, Economics, and Business, according to AI. And just announcing something that I'm also, to thank you, offering the first 10 of these children of the cloud as for the first 10 bidders with any non-zero bid. So it could be 1 cent. And same for the elephants. And it's on the 9th. So if you need help creating a wallet tomorrow, we could do that together. And yes, so thank you so much, everyone. It was a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elle. This was a very interesting talk. And I would now like to call all our speakers to the stage. And I'm going to present our speakers while I'm calling the names. First, I would like to call Pauline Fössl. She's a curator and entrepreneur behind Artpool, whose extensive work as director of art institutions, galleries, and studios has shaped her understanding of the art landscape globally. Formerly known as Art Curator Grid, Artpool is the first curator-driven NFT platform powered by a global network of vetted art professionals. Her work as co-director of the Underdogs Gallery and as a former director of the Will Studio placed Lisbon on the global map of contemporary public art while creating a generation of urban artists. Next, I would like to call João Simões. Architect and artist, he has worked with Michelangelo Pistoletto, presenting a Documenta castle in Germany. He was invited also by David Medalla to show his work at Musée d'Art Moderne de la Ville in Paris. In 2011, he received the Mathematic Research Commission by the Dutch foundation All Arts, and 1 year later, he presented Portugal in the Venice Architecture Biennale. And he also exhibited his work at the Tingley Museum in Basel and exhibits regularly at the Emily Harvey Foundation in New York. I would also like to call now Late. He is the creator and soul of this event. Late Sinalovic is a professor at Nova School of Business and Economics. Most of you know him. And he's also one of the founders of the Data Science Knowledge Center. As a researcher and practitioner, his interests are in the use of technology for improving how humans create and appropriate value. He's a chairman of Data Science for Social Good Foundation and an entrepreneur. And last but not least, Elle, please also come back up to the stage. We already heard from all your ventures. And we're gonna start now with our panel. Yes, sure. So let's jump right into it. Maybe you could hand the microphone to Pauline, please. I want to start with the lady first.
Thank you.
So, Pauline, you are founder of Artpool, which is the first curator-driven NFT platform powered by a global network of vetted art professionals. Can you explain us in a short way what Artpool is doing and how are they using NFTs? And also, I'm also going to jump into the second question, and then you can form your answer around it. So we've heard from Elle about the 69 million artworks that was sold on Christie's by Beeple, and we know a lot of money is being made right now with NFTs. The last volume transaction number we have from 2021 is almost 25 billion US dollars. 25 billion. You have to absorb that. And this is only up from 95 million in 2020. So do you think this is just a bubble, or is there still a market to grow? And how do you see the future of NFTs?
Thank you, Astrid. Thank you, Les, for the invitation. Very happy to be with you. So to start with Art Pool first. So it didn't start as an NFT platform. It started as a social network for the art world, but specifically centered around art curators. So for the one who are not familiar with what is an art curator and what is a professional art curator, because we talk a lot about the word curating, but there is actually people that it's their day-to-day job to do this, which basically they are the maestro behind an exhibition. So if you go to the museum, they are going to be the people who have worked with the artist, wrote the text, created, if it's a group show, they're going to create that whole theme. They're going to do the whole scenography of the exhibition. And what's important to understand is they are people who have studied art history most of the time, who have a very deep knowledge on an art movement or a specific locality. And they work very, very closely with the artists. So they go to the studio, they reflect a lot with them, they help them push their practice. And, you know, back in 2017, I was back from Asia, and I just thought, like, there is not so much curated platform online, and I was really fascinated about the digital. And I was seeing a lot of things in the art market, but not that much things in the institutional world. And curators, most of them do work with non-profit institutions. And I thought that it could be a good idea to kind of gather them at a global scale. So decided to develop the social network, and then it has been an adventure that started there. We have now more than almost 900 curators from 75 countries in the world. Each curator works with hundreds of artists. And I'm getting to the NFT, don't worry. And then their main pain, because we selected them on their profile, on their CVs, on the shows they have curated. And their main pain was, how can we get fundings for our art projects, like for exhibitions, for printing, publications. So it was really like, where can we find money? Most curators do also research money, so they apply to grants, they look for sponsors. If it's not the curators, it's the museums. It's an extremely complicated matter. And this is what I did in Hong Kong before I came up here. And basically, I was always having this in my mind, and came up the NFTs, and it was beginning of last year. I actually checked, it was mid-February that I've heard for the first time was an artist I'm pretty close with that sent me, well, that sounds interesting, and so on. I'm sorry. And then I started to look into it, and I thought, like, that seems to be a very brilliant tool, because I saw it as a tool. For me, art is not an NFT. NFT is not art. NFT is a tool to be selling a digital asset that can be art. And you can have what type of digital asset? You're going to have like an MP3, you're going to have a JPEG, you can have a 3D .obj, for example. Any type of digital asset can be sold via NFTs, via this technology. But not NFTs, not all NFTs are art, and that's I think is important to understand. And so we developed this tool that is available for the curators of the platform, so for the artists working with the curators of the platform. And they have now access. They can, for example, I'm having an exhibition in a museum in like 6 months. I need 100,000 euros. I already have all my list of artists I'm working with on the exhibition. I already have all the text. I know the money I need because I have all my budget. So I talk to the artists. I'm seeing with them if they are interested to do an NFT. I know very well their practice because I'm used to work with them, so we can develop a project that can be sold via NFTs. And we sell the works. Ideally, we sold out. There is a share that goes to the artist, another share that goes to the project. Most projects are physical projects. And we can finance the physical exhibition. So if you want, it's a very virtuous cycle because, of course, the artist makes money, but it's thanks to him that the exhibition is happening as well. but it's also good for the CV of the artist, so it creates value. And that's something important for your second question. The bubble. Yes, it is definitely a bubble, what's happening today. It's actually the NFT, really art sold as NFTs, it's 2 billion. Like I did this because I'm pitching to a lot of investors. The art market is 50 billion. So it shows that still the equilibrium is not there yet. But you have a lot of other things that is sold via NFTs, and that's the figures of everything that is being sold. But yeah, it's a bubble. It's a bubble because there is a massive interest at the moment. There is a lot of people that are creating NFTs, but that's another problem is who is the creator? Because I can go, like the main platform that you're gonna heard about, and actually your work is on OpenSea. OpenSea it's an OpenSea. So you have millions of artworks. I can go there, I can take an image online and I can mint it. So they were a platform there for years. They have been completely overwhelmed with the development of what has been happening, and even them tweeted that, like, actually you have scam like crazy on OpenSea. You have 80% that are actually scams. So they ask the people to reduce the number of minting to 50, but that's a real problem.
And how can you vet? How can you guarantee that the image really belongs to its original creator?
You cannot on OpenSea. So that's why platforms like ours are popping up, because we have a way to authentify, because we have a curator that works with the artists and who onboard the artist on the platform. So platforms like ours become authentifier, like a stamp for this, for the collectors. On OpenSea, it's then you need to fact check yourself. You know, you need to do your due diligence. If you're interested in the work, you need to go and really check that this is really the artist behind.
So you see this as a bubble, and do you think that the market is going to correct itself in the future? How do you see the future of NFTs?
Like any bubble, I believe it's going to burst, and what will remain, and that's my true belief, are the artists and the platform that can authentify the artist behind it. It's what I'm betting on.
Yeah.
You know, so. We'll see, but actually the first slide of my deck is the bubble. So you have like those emoji of bombs and explosive, in the middle the money, and then an arrow, and what's remain is art.
Yeah. So for our audience, watch out, inform yourself, but watch out,
exactly.
Right?
Do your due diligence, but like anywhere, right? You're going to go on a website, you're going to make sure that's recommended somewhere, that you're going to check is that really the brand or whatever. You need to do the same. You need to go and look for, with the artists, go and check if they have a website, go and check on their, their Twitter account. You have a lot of, now the whole art NFTs on Twitter. So you can go and check on Twitter, look at who they follow, who are following them, make sure that this is the creator behind the NFT. I think that's absolutely essential, yeah.
Thank you, Pauline. I'm going to now move on to João. João, you are an architect and successful artist for more than 30 years. And you created your first digital artwork back in 2000. It was actually presented in San Francisco, right? Yeah. And but you still haven't jumped on the NFT train yourself, right? So what do you think about all this hype? Are you planning to, or you're very suspicious, or what is your take on that?
Well, I will not say suspicious. I'm just, I don't know. I'm an old school artist, right? In fact, I work with conceptual structures, even there's no object-based pieces. This is an object-based or more visual-based piece. Well, not anymore now yet. But yeah, that's another one. Well, this all, I can explain a little bit these images because I think it will be nice to, I'm working with digital machines and even before there were analogs, right? That's another one. No, can we change, please? Yeah. This is good. This one. I'm doing it, so you can. Oh, okay. And this is basically a video system. In Europe, we have PAL video system. It's a system that deals with video. And it was shown in San Francisco, and in the States they have NTSC video system. It's a different video system. So they both handling video, but in a different way. So my video was destroyed in America or reinterpreted in America because it's another video system. So by choosing not to transfer my European system to the American system, or to be shown there, the machine created this, right? As in Jean Tinguely in the 50s, he was doing these machines that they were drawing by themselves, right? There was no human approach.
Robotics, right?
The robotics,
Yeah.
how do you call it, the mathematic machines, right? This was in the 50s, right? And even before Jean Tinguely, the Swiss artist, there were, of course, in the 60s and the 70s, the experiments on art and technology in New York and New Jersey with artists and scientists working together at the Bell telephone lab. This was major. It was very important to the world, right? You have Andy Warhol, you have Yvonne Rainer in dance, and well, we have all these artists working with scientists. And the Bell telephone lab was amazing. It was like 11 Nobel Prizes during the time working there, and there were laser. They invented so many things, and it was amazing.
And how do you think that is very important, this history of digital art for what is happening
I think so.
now?
No, definitely, definitely. Of course, all this started with Fluxus and Nanjun Paik and Alison Knowles doing random poems with algorithms or softwares choosing the words to randomly, kind of a William Burroughs cut and paste style thing. Also, we have Marcel Duchamp, for example, in the 20s. Late 20s, 30s, he was cutting and paste music and words. So in a way, it was like almost a generated, not
code.
in artificial intelligence, but you know, he was mixing around all these things, real intelligence. So I think history, of course, it's fundamental. I'm lost with the question now already. So NFT, of course, I'm enchanted by it, of course. I have many friends doing it, even sculptures and paintings, painters and even poets. They're moving, not moving, I don't think the word moving, it's correct. Well, they testing, they move is just like only NFTs, right? I will try, definitely, I will try to. But I think the work needs to be, of course, by an artist, generated by an artist, and it needs to be thought as an NFT since the origin, not like grabbing a photo, an old photo, and
Yeah, like
transform it
Pauline
into,
said, it's a tool, but it doesn't
it's
replace
a tool.
the artist.
Yeah, it's
right?
like painting, it's like sculpture, it's a tool, it's another tool. And of course, I'm not saying yes or no, it's a tool.
Yeah.
And I cannot say no to a tool, it's art, right? It's so expanded. And art has this power of like going in places that you're not expected, right? As we saw in history.
And what do you think about AI-generated art? Do you think are traditional artists threatened by artificial intelligence? Do you think they will ever replace the artists?
No, I don't think. As I said before, there's space for everything, you know. And art, especially, it's like an animal, right? It's a beast, right? It's a huge beast, and it's like a, I don't know. It has. You can do whatever, yeah. It's the elephant there in the room. No, there's one beautiful text by Robert Musil, and it's a conference he gave to the Labour Party, and it's called On Stupidity, and I really recommend this book. It's a tiny book, and it's called On Stupidity, and it's Robert Musil, right? And so wow. And it is artists and art has really the power to do stupid stuff, right? Of course, Musil put it in a very nicer way than I, but it's, and I think, I think no one is feeling threatened or against or opposite or it's a bad or it's a good
just
thing.
Just aggregating, really, isn't it?
It's like Dada or Fluxus or you know, an artist smashing a piano, and that's the sound piece. It's like Cage on Cage, doing a silence piece, not silence, but it's 4 minutes, 33 seconds, with no touching the instruments, with 3 tempos, triandamento. So all these things, can you imagine an orchestra, for example, not playing the instruments for 4 minutes and 33 seconds? That's a John Cage piece, American composer, very well respected. Not in the beginning, I must say. Everyone was laughing, but now it's one of the most amazing sound music compositions in history, right? Of course, if the orchestra is silent, you hear your own body and people and the sounds of the theater, even the subway, going under the waves or the Kerkevels. So I don't think there's anyone against.
And do you have any advice for young artists that are entering the market now?
I do have one advice, although I think the only thing you cannot, for me it works, that you cannot think about before or during a process, think about money. I think it's the only mistake that occurs. As an artist, I'm not saying as a curator or as an artist, of course you want to sell your work, you want to live with your own cells and everything, but there is a moment, and as an artist, so there's a moment
Which is
when
a bit
you
the danger
work.
with this
if
NFT
you
hype,
think
isn't
about
it?
money-
Everybody's thinking about the money,
Yeah,
but not
I
about
think
the art.
if you think about money, this is a cliche, but it's real. That's why it's a cliche. It works, and it's really important. Don't think about money. Don't. I don't know. It's very difficult to not think about money, and then there's one day that you need to think about money because the work is done, and then you need to sell it or not. But it changed the work. It changed a lot the work, and in all my years of, I worked with commercial galleries. I don't work with commercial galleries anymore. Even my gallery in New York is a non-for-profit foundation. I tend to work with non-for-profit or more non-commercial spaces. And of course, I have nothing against the commercial galleries. I have many friends working. I have gallerist friends with commercial galleries. But I think it's a defense, right? It's like, it looks like naive for me to say this, but it works with me.
Thank you, João.
Okay.
Let's move to Lade. Lade, you are our technology expert today, so let's talk a bit about the technology behind NFTs. It's very complex. How is blockchain changing the world for artists, designers, creatives? What are its potentials, its limitations? And also talk to us a bit about what are smart contracts and why are they important?
So many questions.
That's why I'm here for.
I'll try to answer some of these at least. Let's see if I can stick to them. The first thing is, there were a couple of things during the pandemics. So pandemics was the initiator of this. And why during the pandemics we've seen so many people being affected. They couldn't sell their art because they didn't have where to do it. They couldn't exhibit. There was no those physical events. But at the same time, you had this technology, which is blockchain, and it somehow was detached from the majority. Blockchain is still not in the majority. Let's put it like that. And I was thinking, but that doesn't make a lot of sense. You have these platforms which are online. They're increasing the access. Anybody can go there, so you need to actually get your audience to be there. You need to somehow spread the word and do all these things. So what I was trying to do at the time is, how can I actually help in that regard? So I started thinking about art, AI, and blockchain. And then just recently, about a month and a half ago, someone who I know wrote a post on LinkedIn. Said, my daughter decided to go and study art. I tried to persuade her not to do that, but then she wanted it. And a comment from another professor says, okay, but be ready that she will leave Portugal. I respect that kind of a view, but for me that's a nonsense. Why is it a nonsense? Why does it really matter where you are today? What are your chances of doing things? If you have a way to show your work on a global platform that is visible to everyone, and if you have a way to somehow increase the interest of the others, it doesn't matter if you're in, I don't know, Cuba, either in that island or the village here in Portugal, or you're anywhere else in the world. We see that in IT. In IT, we recently, a friend of mine was asking me, can you recommend someone to work for me? and I connected him with a company in Nigeria who is doing HR. In Nigeria, they didn't want to have to work for salaries less than for salaries in Germany. So it doesn't matter where you are as an IT, I work for the same amount of money because there is no more arbitrage. We know what are the salaries.
Decentralized.
And I can do my work from anywhere else. If it works for IT, and if you can put this physical into the digital layer, then it should work for the art as well. So for me, the blockchain, as it is now, has given this, okay, I don't need intermediary. The data is everywhere. Me coming from countries where tampering, corruption, and all this stuff are very, very prevalent things, for me, blockchain is a miracle.
So you can actually eliminate some of this disadvantage of certain marketplaces, right?
And you know that everybody has a copy of the data, that nobody will tamper it. It's across the globe with these copies of the whole transaction registry. So everybody knows that that's true, conditional, that's really true, right? So technology has allowed us to have the proof that something is really what it stands to be, apart from the physical, whether it's really an artist or something else. But if there is this transaction, if the content is associated to it, if it's verified, it is always going to be there, and we will know that that's happened as it is. If we have platforms that give access to everybody, then it means that the market, that the global stage is yours. So it doesn't matter where you are, you can compete, and you can try to sell these things. That's about blockchain as a technology that allows these elements of transparency, security, resilience, and in combination with those platforms, it changes how we see what is our market. Okay. Now, that's one piece of the thing that you asked me. You had 3 questions, if I remember well.
No, I also wanted to know what is the role of smart contracts in the blockchain?
That was the last question. Before that, you may have had...
Before that, I was asking you, let me check, the potential and limits of the blockchain.
The potentials are just amazing. I don't know well, blockchain is a tool. It can be private, it can be public. The best thing is that it has shown itself pretty good despite the skeptics about storing the value. Bitcoin is still doing well, and it continues doing well despite the pessimists and the optimists. It's still doing pretty well. We have seen that it can actually create organizations like decentralized autonomous organizations, DAOs, that are being governed by the code, where we translate the governance from human to code, algorithms that are being executed when certain conditions are being met. We are enabling the proof of identity, authenticity, that we have for all of these arts, but not only just that. There is much more in NFTs than just artists, I'm sorry for saying it, but there's so many things that are there that can be actually be monetized by NFTs, that the world of NFTs is even bigger than just art. So all of these elements, these are potentials for blockchain to grow more. It just depends on how creative are we to give use to a tool. That's the potential. The limits, today everybody speaks about, okay, there is a huge impact, you mentioned it, there's that wonderful art, thank you for that, of the carbon impact. But the technology is, there is already a technology that allows you to have less of the pollution impact. And even those that are very, very popular, like Ethereum is working on changing from proof of stake to proof of work to proof of stake.
That's actually one question that I was going to ask you later on.
Later on, we can stay there.
But it has to do with that, what you're saying, the environmental impact, because one of the very first steps towards a more clean NFT, how Al called it, might be to move from proof of work to proof of stake.
That's
what
happening.
does that mean? But can you explain to our audience what does proof of work and proof of stake means in very simple terms?
I'll try. Blockchain is a database. It's a decentralized database. But for you to make an entry into this database, you need to pack it into blocks. How do you verify that that block is really made? Depends. You can solve a crypto puzzle, which actually uses a lot of energy because it takes a lot of time to go through combinatorial search for all the combinations. And once you hit it, you say, okay, I hit it. It satisfied the condition. I have a proof of work, so I can put the whole block into the blockchain. It's by design difficult. You know, and that's proof of work. And because many people are working at the same time, to find that solution, it actually spends a lot of energy. Because computers, they burn energy. But that was a kind of, yeah, you got to invest something so that we know that this is not going to be corrupted. There is a mechanism for ensuring that this is not easy to be corrupted.
So security is the main argument of it.
Yeah, we wanted it to be tamper-proof, and that nobody can actually change things, okay? So security and that is, yeah, security, let's call it like that. Proof of stake is, instead of you solving the crypto puzzle, I'm actually going to ask you to invest a lot of money. You know, you put some asset. If it's Ethereum in this case, you got to put 32 Ethereum to become a node. But you know, if you want to change the whole network, there are so many validators that are chosen at random that it's very hard for you to change the blocks, to actually make wrong entries into the database. And there, because you don't need to search for a crypto puzzle, by random we'll select who will make that, but you know, all of you who are participating in the validation will give some money inside, so that you need a lot of money to start changing what is there. Then we don't have this.
You limit the number of players, that's what you're saying.
You still have the security without that, let's say, burn of energy because you need to solve the crypto puzzle.
Right.
You have proof of work, where you burn the energy to solve the crypto puzzle, and proof of stake, where you put some money inside to actually become part of the system that verifies this. And we say, and there is this thing, proof of stake is less polluting the atmosphere. It spends less energy. So that is one limitation, but we are also forgetting another very big limitation for this to work. Technology is only useful when it's in use. You know? And this is beautiful that we have this world of NFTs, but still, if you ask here, this I don't know how many people actually do have a wallet, they have bought an NFT, they have minted that. I mean, they're all like, yes, I've heard about it, I would like to do it. And there's thousands of videos over there. It's not really a big thing. Well, it was a big thing because I know Lenia was here. Lenia, are you here still? I don't know. We actually Lenia tried to make a MetaMask wallet a year and a half ago, and she called me 5 times, look, it doesn't work. It is horrible. I cannot make it. It sends me somewhere. This is just ridiculous. 1 year ago or some time ago. Now, I think MetaMask works like flawlessly. It's just like this. So we need it, it's limited by the usability of the tools that give access to platforms and to blockchain. So these are the limitations apart from those carbon
So the
things.
more it becomes a mainstream technology, the easier it will be to use as well, right?
Yes, and it's adoption. If just few people are using, well, good luck with your game, you know. I hope you're enjoying it. But if more people are using it, then we will see, this is good. And then the bubble may actually not become a bubble. If there are more and other users, NFTs may actually become even more valuable, especially associated with those crypto coins and other things that are giving value to the system beyond what we see.
Okay, just coming back to the smart contracts.
If you read information about smart contracts, even Vitaly Buterin said, I think we shouldn't have called them smart contracts. Nick Szabo called them smart contracts because there is nothing smart about them. You know, you have a set of instructions that are being executed if conditions are being met. They're used in the idea, the term is sticky, you know, smart contract. Let's put a smart contract. But it's just a set of, it's an algorithm now as a set of instructions which are triggered once there is a,
But what does it mean?
It means that, especially with the blockchain like Ethereum, you could have made and put a program on an infrastructure, on an Ethereum platform. You put a program, and once there is a trigger, that's a call to the program is executed, and transaction is being stored, as well that program that is making it, that is initiating the transaction.
So it eliminates the need for intermediaries.
Yes and no. Depends on how you design the whole system around it.
Okay.
We have those decentralized organizations which are labeled as a set of smart contracts. But set of smart contracts cannot solve all the problems of all organizations. They can solve some parts of that. You have decentralization, you have community voting, et cetera, but there are limits to this, right? Because we still need some human touch in solving these problems. So they are good in executing things. We have blockchain that is tamper-proof, that is secure, that can take all this stuff, but we can take out significant chunk of interactions, put it on the blockchain, and because of that cryptography, which allows us to play with how much open can we can allow multiple stakeholders to come and share the database, play around, keeping certain things for them. And that's why this programmability and smart contracts give another value that you called taking out intermediaries. Depends on how do we design the process. Some intermediaries are going to be there, but many of them will disappear because we will now have a much more easier to share database than we used to have before.
Thank you, Late. Let me
Thank you.
move on to Al. Al, you have a Ph.D. in complex systems and among the pioneers of generating AI-Art, but why do you make art? How did you start making art? We heard about your father, so he influenced you for sure, but how can a computer scientist all of a sudden say, oh, you know, I'm not that into computer science anymore, I want to create art?
Thank you, Astrid. To answer your question in a few words, whatever science could not answer in terms of questions, I thought at some point art could. And because science is objective and it's something that is used to solve problems, to better humanity, to find solutions, but art is more expressive, and you could pour your soul into it. You could express yourself, and I think also being an artivist, an activist and artist, I found that art could be very much an expression of what I would like to see in the world, what I aspire for the world, and especially in terms of diversity, coexistence, peace, all of these things. If we put good intention in our art, I think this brings much more of a value than anything else.
So you're saying you're an activist. What is the subject of your activism?
Yes, I really hope for or aspire for a world that is full of equality, diversity, and peace. I think these are three main things that I try to communicate in my art.
Especially in times like that, we need that.
Thank you.
And I also wanted to know, because you're maybe among the few artists that can write their own algorithms, right? So do you? Or do you use ready-made programs to get your art generated?
I do both, because I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel. If I find some code, I wouldn't hesitate to use it, especially that there are some very good code written by others, and that is available as open source, and a wonderful community of scientists who have been pushing this field, especially AI, and I think we should just keep them in mind and always remember what they have done, what their contribution is, and I do both. I do code and use others' code.
Yeah, wonderful. You were talking about equality before, yet, I mean, we all have this idea that this new metaverse that we are having is this very diverse, very decentralized, very free world where everybody can create an NFT, right? Where everybody can make money. But really, it's not that equal. I mean, there are only like 16% of women, for example, in the NFT market. Would you like to talk a bit about that?
Yes, definitely. So one of the recent studies we're working on is trying to identify who are these people. It's very hard because wallets are anonymized, so we cannot know who are the people behind these wallets, who are these artists. But we would love to know who they are, and maybe hope that we would have equal genders, equal diversity, because this is what we hope for the next society, the future society.
Thank you. Maybe I extend that question also to Pauline, because I know you also very outspoken about gender equality.
I have to be, right?
Exactly.
I think there is solution. I think they are as valid in the physical world. Well, again, curators. I think we have like 75% of women on the platform. So women have a tendency to select more women artists. But, you know, at the end, what's complicated, and here I'm going to talk in general in the arts, and this was a very good conversation I had with a curator, a woman, who kind of opened my eyes. And I was telling her, you know, when I'm curating an exhibition, I'm just looking at talent. And she was like, yeah, sure, but what do you actually see the most, right? Like when you're on social media, when you are in articles, like when you read an article, it's men, artists. So she told me, like, you need to really double your efforts to look for women artists. And without this effort, like, it's never going to change. And since then, like, it's true, I'm making way more effort to look for women artists. I know it's true for the curators of the platform as well. But I think it's also from the collector side that this needs to change. Collectors also need to research more. For women artists, I think like there is a lot of women artists in the NFT space, maybe that are, yes, not sold as much as men, but there is really a lot of good stuff there. So then it's, and more women collectors. I think that can only change with this. Can I do just a small comment about what you said? Because I was waiting for the mic. I agree so much with you. And I think if the bubble bursts, what's going to remain is what you said. It's artists who have created because they have something to say in this world. Like proper questioning, proper concept. Artists who have created for the money, I am really not sure they will stay. So that's the basic. Like, you need to look for artists, and anyway, I think you can see it.
Yeah.
An artist creating for the money, you may see it, because there is no work behind, there is no concept, there is no message. They're not trying to add something, and this is what art is. You know, like you don't produce or you don't create an art piece just to sell it. Of course, it's part of it. Of course, artists need to eat, and I'm doing a platform for this, so I can tell you that. But it cannot be the main purpose, and it's true that in the NFT space, that's a lot the case.
Yeah, that's actually one of my next questions about the quality of NFT art. How can you guarantee quality NFT art? Because basically, everybody can create an NFT nowadays. I could just take a picture of this glass, post it, mint an NFT, and hopefully someone buys it. But it's not a great work of art.
Yeah. It's difficult, right? What quality is. I think you, as a collector, you need to look at the emotion it brings to you, the questioning it brings to you, and maybe you will feel it's a qualitative work for you, you know? And I think this has value. Then if I'm thinking really like art market and so on, I would say you need an ecosystem. Like you were saying it, you're not in galleries, but you work with an ecosystem of nonprofit, for example. So again, for me, if you want to buy, if we think qualitative is, you need to look for an artist who is actually working in their career, right? Like, because again, like, not everything is art. Like we see a lot of on the NFT platform, like they name this as art, but is it really? You know, again, art is you have an artist working behind on a career on a day-to-day basis, questioning this world, bringing something, and I think that's what you need to look into. You need to look into what is this series about? Go and check text, go and check what the artist wants to say. You know, it cannot just be an image without any explanation behind, just like, or maybe it is, maybe it's just beautiful, but you can find like references of this person that is actually having a career, you know? Like, I'm doing that job every day. Like we have developers that's, you know, they have their skills, but for artists it's talent and skill. But I think like there is way to, and I know it's hard because it's easy for me to say this, maybe for Astrid as well, because we are seeing art all the time. For decades we have been going to art fairs, museum, galleries. So we have this radar, and it's not because I like, it's because I can see that, yeah, maybe like, you were saying it, I'm in the urban art movement. So I've seen so much thing in the urban art movement that I can look at an artist and say, this guy is different, or this girl has a relevant work because nothing has been done like this, because it's specifically to that community or raising a specific concept, whatever. But I can see it. Maybe like in general you cannot, but again you can go to platforms specifically talking about NFTs, but also to very good art spaces. It doesn't have to be art galleries. It can be like a small artist-run space in Lisbon. It can be, but just go and ask questions, document yourself, understand. Look at an artist's CV, look at what they have done, in which publication they are, in which museums or institution or shows or community projects. It's how you can see like the value in terms of market. But then never, I mean, I've bought pieces, they had no value in a way, you know, like they were not really in a market, but they had value for me, and I think that is important as well. You need to buy something you
But
like
also,
and that can...
Also, your own NFT platform, ALAgrApHY, actually ensures that, right? Because you're curators and you're choosing artists, you're vetting the art before you actually put it online, right? Like Nifty Gateways has a similar approach, a more thorough selection process, or Super Rare?
No, they don't. No, because again, they are using the word curation. But it's a very centralized curation. So it's the team behind the platform, or it's the collectors. For me, a collector is not a curator. You know, curator is not just selecting things, and collectors are biased because they see the value. Yeah, there is a conflict of interest there. Whereas curators are not money people. They are the people working in institutions, in museums. Museums are not selling the painting on the walls, you know.
So when Nifty Gateway says curated collection, drop off, whatever, it's not curated.
From my point of view, it's not a proper... For me, curation is also putting back in a context, you know. It's not just a selection of 3 artworks. It's a way of also creating an exhibition, right? So that people can go in the project, even if it's online. They can go and they can live with something, right? And if you go on, and I think they are doing an amazing job, and just for me, that's not the definition of the art curation. And I think there is total space for a platform like this, and I mean, figures talk by themselves, right? But I think also there is space for a platform like ours where we can tell the story, really. And I think people who really want to collect art, that want to invest,
and they
for
want
sure,
to know
the
more
money
about
is
the
there.
artist, isn't it? And they want to know more about the artist.
Yeah,
behind.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that's where we are going towards. You know, I think like for meeting more and more people collecting NFTs and who started being collectors of art because, and thanks to NFTs, you know, they want more now. You know, they want more than the PFP project, so the profile picture that you have seen earlier, the CryptoPunks and Bored Apes. This is amazing. That gives, there is like many ways of exploring it, because it's not just an image behind you are part of a club, you're getting like, you're part of this, you can go on a yacht or whatever. You have like stuff coming from this image, right? But if they want to invest in art, like you won't necessarily have that utility, you could, but most of the time you won't. It won't be an art piece and there is not necessarily a utility behind. They're gonna look for the story. And when I'm saying the story, it's text, it's words, it's explanation, it's meeting the artist and understanding who they are and what have they done before, where they wanna go. They want this, because there is this community. And we didn't talk about this, but I think this is like super important to understand in the NFT space. The most interesting is the community that you create around your project. And for me, this is so linked to the art, because I've been in the art world for that. You know, I've been in the art world for doing that link with art and audience. Imagine audience equal communities in the NFT space. You're gonna hear that word again and again, but like be part of them, and you'll see like you need to find what you really like. But if once you're part of it, it's like so open. It's so like people are supporting each other. There is so many great discussion, and that's something I think is very important to belong to if you want to come in the space. And yeah.
Thank you, Pauline. João, apart from being an artist, you actually are an architect, right?
I am.
So there have been now more and more cases. There was Krista Kim in March 2021. She designed and sold a house for $500,000. Andres Reisinger made a collection of furniture for $450,000. But nothing of it existed. It's all a digital concept. So they sold a concept, a creative concept, and not a real thing. Isn't that kind of beautiful for an artist that they're finally being taken serious? I mean, designers, architects, but
Finally.
it's true. I mean, how many times have designers and architects created proposals for free and no one validated them, isn't it?
Well, many, since some years now, not many, but some years, museums and galleries and buyers, and they buying or they collecting ideas. That's an amazing thing. You know, for example, Simone Forti's dance piece, or just, I'm not dropping name, but I need to say that. But, or Yvonne Reiner's performances, the museum or the galleries are, they buying the score, they buying the template, they buying the idea, they buying the gestures, they buying the smells, they buying, you know, my first show in Paris many years ago, in '99, was a smell. It was a mothball. So the Modern Art Museum sounded like a little bit old, right? A little bit. But so there are people buying this thing kind of. It's very specific, but still. At the same time, that's it. That's the question. Yeah.
No, if it's just how do you think this is useful? It's a useful new concept for designers and creatives that they can finally give value to their creative concepts.
So. I think an
instead
idea,
of having to produce a physical object.
Well, everything starts from an idea, right? Everything, even going to the moon, right? But especially going to the moon is a big idea. So, but I think it's a beautiful thing to just and my work explores a lot of it. Many of my pieces are just ideas that almost like spoken word or word of mouth. I can say it to you and I can give it to you, right? Or and it works a lot. For example, this image. I won't talk about this image later. So, and I think it's beautiful. A museum or a collector or a friend just buys you an idea. And I think this is the maximum for me. This is the ultimate conceptual and beauty of art, is someone buying an idea. And you have it in you.
So this kind of made a complete change in our understanding of art, isn't it?
Well, it started with the concept art and conceptual art, of course, with Duchamp, of course, and when there was this kind of change in between, like, figurative and Christian or religious art and music, and everything was religious, everything has a purpose, and then suddenly, no, right? So, but ideas are being bought and trade, or you can trade an idea, for example, right? So it rhymes with word freedom. If you just if you can surf this layer of ideas and still be an artist, active artist, doing art, having kids, having a house, having a car, and then you just more or less, not always, but somehow you manage to live in this conceptual world as an art, and then you need to cook, and then you need to do all that stuff. I'm just I want to show this. This piece because, no, yeah, this one. Give me the remote, please. No, I'm just, ideas, for example, this forget the books around, and this is a shell nut. It's like, I always remember Shakespeare when he said, my universe, my world is in a shell nut, right? Everything is in a shell nut. The universe is in a shell nut. And I found this shell nut And I was surprised. I was this moment of that I was very. And I showed this shell nut in a gallery at the ALAgrApHY, empty gallery, huge gallery. It's not as huge as this space, but it's a huge gallery. But only this shell nut, and it stayed like for 2 months there, and it worked because the shell nut, I'm sorry, the shell nut is the brain, the image of the brain, the artistic way of the more pragmatic way, side and 50-50 yin yang, bad and good or whatever. But this nut, it's divided by 3, if you noticed, right? So there's another layer of these divisions in the black and white, good or wrong, or creative or pragmatic. So I love this nut because it's like a freak. Right? And I love this kind. There's a movie called Freak, very beautiful. You need to see it. So this nut is, and then I found another one divided by 4, naturally. It's impossible to find. It's 1 in a million. So, and I did another show with 5 rooms, and the first room was empty. There's no nut divided by 1. The second room with a nut divided by 2. The third room with a nut divided by 3, and the fourth room with a nut divided by 4. So it was a simple mathematical succession of 2, 3, 4. Very simple, very childish, as Musil said, on stupidity, right? So if I have the power to, and talking about NFTs, I feel I have, as in geometry, there is this, one direction has 2 senses, right? So I'm in this direction that I see NFTs, but at the same time, in the other sense, I see this. Right, so, and I feel comfortable about it. It's not struggling. I'm very excited about it. As the Chinese say, we're living in very interesting times. That's for sure. In bad way, war, good way. This interesting times means everything, not only good things. But we are definitely living in interesting times. Everything is
developing.
Interesting.
Thank you, Joel. Late, you are a university professor. Do you think you have a special responsibility to shape the young minds? How do you explain to them this new era of art and blockchain and NFTs that we are in?
I don't know. We actually need to learn with them. This is, by the way, we're talking about things that are being made as we speak. This is not a final thing. And technology is evolving. As technology evolves, sometimes we are just trying to catch up, okay? What we want to do at Nova, and that's why we're bold in experimenting, let me put it that way. And we started with blockchain classes. We are gonna increase these classes to include more things to be given. But let me show you one more thing which I think is important for the young minds. It's not only, it doesn't matter what I speak as a professor. It matters is what they are willing to do as humans. How are they willing to experiment? Let me see whether this works. Not there, sorry. You took me to a wrong side now, huh? So I spoke, we had this event, and I'm just going next to the digital experience lab, and there is Tiago, who is part of this lab, and he says, I actually have an NFT. And it's a wonderful NFT. If you want to take a scan and look at it, he's also selling. But as humble as many Portuguese are, I feel upset if you're going to, is it okay for you to show it there? I said, actually, this is very important. You see, we have many people who are part of the job, aside of the jobs that they're doing, they're actually creating other things. They are experimenting with this new world to express themselves in a new way, be it through creating new music, be it through creating new art with the AI, being experimenting with new installations or other things, and then they're also trying to get, if I'm doing something, I'm not an artist, like Tiago or the other Tiago students that we have here. I say, maybe there is a way for me, I'm an introvert, I would like to do it, but I don't know how to sell it. What if I post it over there? And then if I post it over there, maybe there are people who will also like it, and then we will buy it. You see, that experimentation that is given to people to express themselves in a new way, for me, is extraordinary.
Yeah.
We as university, we actually need to show that there is technology, that there is a limit, to explain them that this is there, sometimes good, sometimes bad, but it's a process as well. We need to open their minds to these new opportunities and to say, you know, the world is only as good as you make it. You know, he talks about equality, he talks about peace. You know, we can give you a prize as well, you know. But you see, we are giving meaning to the things around us, and we are creating what the world is going to be about. If I may add to this, you know, you asked João, artists or architects are selling on metaverse, right? This digital world that is now blurred with physical. It's kind of weird. Where am I? But look at it from a different perspective. That artist, that architect that is somewhere, has sold a concept, didn't need to invest a lot of money, had to create that, it's the process of creation, put it in that metaverse, and got a couple of hundreds of thousands of euros, dollars, whatever else. That is in its own mind-blowing. So the world of opportunities has just increased from who do I know, what is my network, to what is the right place to put this stuff, and how do I make sure that many people see it? That is absolutely wonderful. It changes as well our physical world. You know, we are in Cascais. Cascais is a beautiful place. So Cascais, well, I'll use the word of Miguel from Cascais municipality. He says, I want this to be a place for everybody to be happy, to find their dream, right? So Cascais is a place where anybody can live. Why? Because through digital, they can create NFTs, sell, do things, and also make money. So it's not a physical where you are, it's about how are you interacting with these new technologies. Coming back, we at the university, we just try to open a little bit the door for that audacity to be shown, and so that we see this new world actually emerging.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's move on to Al. Do you mainly work with open source data, or are you also working with specific databases? And how important is the feeding data part in your art?
Cool. I kind of touched on this question a little bit by saying that I use some of the algorithms that are open source and do contribute to the open source pool as well. And what was the second question?
But are you also using specific databases? Imagine you work for a company and they say, okay, we're having all this data here, create an artwork for us.
Yes, most of the time I'm using my own training data, my own, I'm feeding the algorithms with my own data. But for example, for creating the elephants, I did have to train it on paintings made by other artists, of course, in order to replicate their style or maybe just imitate it, mimic it. So it goes both ways. And the last question?
I wanted to know, how important do you think is the feeding part of generating AI art?
Very, very important. So it's as important as the parameters that the hyperparameters that run these algorithms. It's also important not just in the art outcome, but also in the writing that some of the AI engines, writing engines produce, because based on what it's trained on, it could have huge biases. When I say biases, it means sometimes it could be having hate, racism aspects. If it's trained on our, I know we are not perfect, but if it's trained on our thoughts, it could exaggerate and amplify our thoughts. So it's of huge importance and impact how this AI is being trained. And I think has been a lot of AI ethic guardians in the world that are working towards this. And I applaud them fully because this is very important for the path that we take in the future. Because I know that the AI, as well as the blockchain, they are trying to automatize in our life and make it more amusing so that we could focus on creating and doing what we love to do most, so that they could just do the policy checking, do the, how to say, the tedious controls of like, well, who created this artwork, the fast checking, sometimes also fact checking and validations of some profiles, etc. But we want to make sure that if we entrust AI or blockchain to do this, they're going to do a good job.
True.
Yes.
And I'm going to ask you another more difficult question, but I think it's very important that the audience also understands that issue. What about copyright? Because in the US right now, it's not possible yet, for example, to register an AI-generated artwork. So I think the only country right now, if I'm well informed, is South Africa, which has a case where they actually registered the copyright of an AI-generated artwork. What do you think about it? Do AI art should have a copyright?
Wow, this is a very tricky question, and I think...
Well, I'm here to ask tricky questions.
I think the legislation is changing every day because I keep reading things mostly in the European kind of law, space of law, and I know that they're working very hard on how to like pinpoint where does it start, where does it end, who owns what, because you have many things. You have the algorithm that is mostly in the open source, so you can't really register it. You have it based on so many other algorithms, like even those Python packages that make this deep learning. There are tons of work that have been contributed by the open community. You have, in addition to this, the training data. Like, I mean, you could train it on your own data, but you could train it on public data. Then what is what? It's very hard to draw the line.
But would you like to make a case for having your artworks copyrighted?
I don't think that I would go this way, especially that I think even the language that I speak is not mine. It's something that the whole world has evolved, a whole community. So everything, I mean, we own nothing basically, and we leave this world with nothing. So I think that we cannot really...
That's a very activist approach.
I mean, this is my philosophy, and I wish if we all adopt this kind of philosophy, the world would become a little bit more peaceful, because it would be harder to, how to say, to claim rights and to draw boundaries between, between what we have and what the whole world has. Yeah, and
Thank you.
I just was wondering, in case I could answer one question that I felt was evoked and was very interesting, was about AI art. If it's gonna replace artists, because you asked João this question, and I was jealous. And I was also very happy. I was also very happy that he answered it, because this is exactly what I think, that AI is just a tool. It's not going to replace artists. It's as long as it doesn't have its own consciousness. It is just the same thing that happened when Photoshop came about and photographers were worried that they would be replaced. It didn't happen. The same thing that happened when photographers came about, and painters thought, especially realisms, they thought it's going to be replaced. This is not going to happen. But I'm going to say also that AI is a very powerful tool, that if it is in the wrong hands, it could create crappy results, just like anything. So it could, well, let's say mediocre results. And so we have to put some good intentions into it, really be conscious about the parameters, the training data, and all of the stuff. And maybe we'll have something that we'll be happy with, and then we could select it and show it to the world. Yeah.
Thank you, Al.
Thank you.
Maybe I want to ask another question. It's a general question for all of you. We have been touching it already, but let's start with Pauline. We already talked about the environmental impact on NFTs. And right now, for example, Bitcoin uses up 91 terawatt hours of electricity annually, which is more annual electricity than all of Finland, which is a country of 5.5 million people, and that's almost 0.5% of all electricity consumption worldwide, and a 10 times jump up from just 5 years ago. So where are we heading? I mean, we're talking about one possible solution, which is switching from proof of work to proof of stake. But do you know about some other innovative solutions out there that they are working on to try and decrease and reduce the carbon emission impact?
Yeah, there is many art platform using other blockchain that are proof of stake. I can name you the platform, but you have Tezos, you have Polygon, Solana. One we are also building on, which is Kusama and Polkadot, which is actually, there is a report that came out like a few weeks back that it's actually the one that is the best students out there. But not there yet, like not so powerful on the NFTs at the moment, but it's there is people working on it. Yeah, about the environment, it has been it was the main thing. Like the art world looked at the NFTs, and it was the thing. Yeah, it's true, but at the same time there is solution, and I think we don't hear about them that much. We just hear about Ethereum. However, Ethereum is still the biggest platform to sell and buy NFTs. This is still the case. The liquidity on Ethereum is so massive that you still have a lot of artists choosing to mint, so to create their NFT on Ethereum. And I think like we are starting to build on Ethereum as well. So we'll be giving the artists the choice. I think the point of platform is to become chain agnostic after each one can choose which blockchain they want to be using and which one correspond to their criteria. It's a real question.
Let's talk about
Ethereum is working and said this year that they would go proof of stake. So like stack, I never know how to say it. Like as I hear sometimes stack, sometimes stake. But yeah, they really said this year they would build layer 2 and it will move on, and that would be a problem that is from the past. So we are waiting, but we have been waiting for quite a while already. So.
Well, I think there's some companies working out there, for example, in Alberta, Canada, which is basically a mining and petroleum-based city. There's a company that is actually trying to use waste oil to create zero-emission NFTs. And there are some other companies out there, like there's Starkware, an Israeli company, that is actually trying to put more than one blockchain on information on a single blockchain. So instead of you having only one piece on one NFT on a blockchain, they're trying to put up to 20,000 or up to 600,000 on a blockchain. Maybe Late, do you want to comment on that? Do you know any about this?
Yeah.
I don't know. The space is evolving so much. Okay, but what we know is there is this adoption. You talked about community and artists. It's community in blockchain as well. How many people do use something? What is the ecosystem around these blockchains? And how easy is for you to tap on this ecosystem to get your block inside, your transaction inside of a block that is there, and to develop something on the top of it. So there are solutions. I don't know them all. There are just too many. The question is, how fast will this game unfold so that we have a standard that will allow people to actually have more use of, let's say, one blockchain or a couple of them, but then let's see whether others are going to challenge also the existing blockchains to evolve more and solve some of these problems. It's a huge field. I don't know if you know, in management, Stephen Klepper is a professor from Carnegie Mellon, late professor from there. He developed something that we call technology S-curves. And now, when technology is just being introduced and they start being adopted, there is this fermentation. There are many, many different solutions that are being offered. At some point, we know this from history, just a couple of these solutions, one or more, one or two or three, are the standard. And then everybody uses that. In looking at that theory, we are at that point of fermentation when we're trying to solve this problem, and blockchains are fighting for becoming a standard.
Yeah.
As Pauline was saying, Ethereum is now the most developed, but it was the first programmable blockchain. And around Ethereum, there is the biggest ecosystem, and there are other side chains that are also solving problems. So we see a fantastic ecosystem, so we see fantastic experimentation.
There's
and we
actually an
see-
NFT artist, I don't know the name, but he said that we should not judge the impact, the environmental impact on the first generation of technology. So I think even the artists are hopeful that this will change. João, maybe you can answer that. From an ethical point of view, for you it's a problem, the CO2 footprint of
Yeah,
NFTs?
of course it is, yeah. Wow, it's just cleaning the first industrial revolution. And we need to, I think there's a solution coming soon, I hope. But of course it's a problem. It's impossible to say no.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know the size, Finland, but it's huge, right? So.
And let's go away a bit from the environmental impact and let's start a bit about money. So NFTs is all about money.
Really? No.
That's what a lot of people, that's what
No
a
money.
lot of people seem to believe. That's what a lot of people seem to believe. But do you think that blockchain will ultimately benefit the art market and artists?
I think so. As I said previously, everything is possible. It's the art world now. It's not one motorcycle racing against one, and it's clear they're two or one. It's the art world. Everything is possible. It's so. Of course, it's benefits. It makes me. I started to think about it. That means it's good for the art world, right? I'm kidding, no. But yeah. It is. I'm not. I don't know.
El, do you think it's all about the money, or do you think it will eventually benefit artists
I
as
have
whole?
so much been waiting for this question. Thank you.
That's why.
Yes. He keeps getting the best question.
Well, you're the two artists here.
Oh, yeah. yeah. Let's divide it. So I really think that NFT is just a certification for who created an artwork before anything, and it's also a sort of democratization for art. And this is why, when I show this plot, I really am hoping that the next generation is gonna be, we're gonna have a fair exhibition of all good artists, of all artists even. And this is why we have this decentralized system, so that everyone could exhibit, everyone could show, could express their feelings. And just this possibility is magnificent, and I think it's not about the money, even though some NFTs and collections have been done for making money. We should not be driven this way. We should not think of it this way. Media definitely loves to highlight these cases, but we could make wonderful things out of NFTs, out of smart contracts, out of blockchain. And this tiny little thing of bubbles should not stop us.
Well, let's open up this panel to our audience. Is there anybody out there that already created an NFT? Anyone? Very good, very good. I heard some comments here in the audience. Does anybody have some questions for our speakers? Yes, please.
Good night, everybody. I wanted to ask Ale, which blockchain did you choose to launch your elephant art, and why did you choose that one and not the other one? It could be Solana, Tezos, Matic. Why the one did you choose, and why?
Wonderful, thank you. So I did choose the Polygon Matic blockchain on OpenSea. And that is for several reasons. One is that it has very low gas fees. It's practically almost nothing. That's one thing. And the other thing, it's also environmental, for environmental reason. And this is the blockchain that I am going to show you tomorrow how to be minting on. Okay, do I answer all the questions? Yes? Thank you.
Anybody else?
Yes.
Hi. So I guess I can divide this into physical artwork and virtual artwork. For physical artwork, having an NFT is basically akin to having a public, I guess, how would I put it, a crowdsourced authentication form, right? Allows you to have some kind of cryptographic information that there's a consensus that says you have access to something that in itself only represents, as you were saying, in some sense, a contract for whatever the reference is to the physical item. But at the end of the day, if I have a physical piece of art and say someone takes the physical piece of art, I have to go to the local municipality or Interpol to recover that piece of art. And to my knowledge, NFTs and blockchain provide zero solutions to this fundamental problem. So if I then transfer that to the digital example, it actually doesn't matter for most of these digital objects whether I have an NFT or not. If I can access the digital item itself, which you can on like OpenSea or many of these places, I can just copy it and it's mine, and I don't care. It costs me nothing. So I'm curious, as somebody who's obviously highly skeptical, at least for the two artists there, what is the value of this over existing mechanisms? So we know the cost. The current system is extraordinarily environmentally unfair, not to mention the fact that most of it's happening in places we don't want to talk about right now because they're being bombed or are bombing. And at the same time, it's also created a massive speculative bubble with lots of people probably going to lose their shirts. I was sitting in a coffee shop in Santush when somebody said, oh, I'm going to build the first physical NFT gallery here in Lisbon, and had invested some frightening amount of Bitcoin in NFTs because he'd made a frightening amount of Bitcoin gambling during the lockdown. So I'm just wondering what the core value add is here. I mean, as it's been said a couple of times, blockchain is just a technology. It's just a shared digital ledger which requires some form of consensus authentication. Most of the ones that are operation aren't very useful. But when it comes to art, there are sort of two things that have been mentioned. One is the value subjectively to me, the person who wants it, in which case I'll just copy it, I don't care, or maybe I steal it from you. In either case, it seems blockchain has no bearing on the actual ability to protect that value. The actual protection will go to the police or somebody who's going to handle art thefts, or in the digital realm, I don't know. I mean, once I've got it on my computer, is anyone going to come and get me?
Thank you. I'm going to start answering this. Thank you for the question. I think it clarifies a lot of doubts that people have, especially when you probably heard about the right-click save, this mad artist or person who just right-clicked and started saving all NFTs. Well, you could save a copy of this image on your hard drive, and you could even mint it as an NFT later on. However, when we trace this, this address of this token, we realize that there has been always a minted token before yours. So this is where it's hard to replace the originality of the first artwork in terms of digital art. So you could save all of these images and put them on your computer and enjoy them as much as you want, but you're not gonna be officially the owner because it's the blockchain that is verifying and validating that you are the owner. If it is not in your wallet, then you are not the owner. Yeah.
It's a long question.
sorry, this was a beautiful response because it seems to validate my question, which is, as was said here multiple times, for me, the value as an art, I mean, I do art and I enjoy art, and having it on my computer is all I'll care about, right? The only value that the NFT adds, the authentication you've talked about, is in the art market, right? And that is a totally different world, right? And that's a world where now, just because I have this thing that's, I've made $1 million selling a copy of your artwork, now who stops you? How do you come to me and get that money? Because these things aren't legal contracts in most places. It's got no value to you as the artist. I have it, I resell it, I make money. I don't see the win here.
Well, I would see the win. It's true, it's on ownership. So, but you are buying it from an artist. So it's not like taking it online and just like, here you are actually giving revenue to someone who is creating, right? So this has value. So no, it's not the same as just taking pictures online and having them on a computer. You are creating revenue for someone who is creating. And I think this replies to the question. Then it's where do you put the ownership and so on. Here you would own the piece or you wouldn't. I mean, I'm, for example, very happy to be on Instagram looking at artists, but I feel way better with myself when I'm actually buying the piece of the artist and I have it on my computer. I don't know if that replies, but I think...
First you and then... Okay, I think I got the question better now. You mean like, how much does the art market... how much does the value of the art market weigh for the quality of your art, if I got the question correctly? No? Yeah, sorry.
I think we're getting closer. So
Yeah.
to just, I completely agree with you, which is why I would directly give money to the artist by, you know, say, going to local galleries here, finding the artist and buying the physical artwork. When it comes to, now I'm going to speak personally, I would go and buy a photograph that somebody has put on Instagram because I saw it on Instagram, but I will not buy a digital photograph. I just won't. But that's, I'm just saying, that's my personal opinion. Because of a problem, which is now going to answer your question, there's two separate things, right? There's the art market. That's a speculative system with its own collection of things that's mostly these days about large people dumping money into something that you can move around illegally and you can store in vast places that are tax havens. And by that I mean the big art market, right? And then there's like going to your gallery and, you know, buy a physical object that someone's made, and that's a different art market. But the thing you're talking about, like the value to me of the art subjectively is unrelated to that. But neither of them benefit from the NFT or blockchain, and that was my point. I don't see what the NFT or blockchaining is adding to the value here.
I have two questions for you. Was Interpol always there? Was there always a legal system that made mechanisms to punish or penalize certain behaviors? But not very well developed. So on blockchain, we don't have a legislation that does a lot of things. But on blockchain, you can trace everything that everybody has been doing. There is this anonymity, so you don't know who really did something bad, right? So if somebody just took off and then minted and did something else, you know, you know that somebody did it, and you can penalize somebody from doing it. You can even trace to some extent who is that. So those bad yes.
So I get my €1 million by stealing your artwork, and you can penalize my wallet, but I just don't have
But here's the thing. What if we can create mechanisms to compare all the artwork that is there and see whether there is any similarity, and we can actually put algorithms to work and stop certain type of copy-pasting and minting, et cetera, et cetera. So I believe that we are going to get to a point that this is better. But there is something else that is even more important, is why would we do these things if we know that we can live better? And that's certainly a fair position. But you know, if we try, why do you have an NFT when you know somebody's going to steal your work?
We're still learning about this. It's very interesting. It's very curious. I'm exploring it as much as many of you are. So I've joined only 1 year ago, so I haven't been in the space for a long time, and I'm still exploring it. And I think what Late just said confirms what I also feel, is that if we are trying to build better societies in order to avoid these stealing or cheating, then why not do it? Why not do it? And maybe if we all get in, if we all jump into this train, maybe then it will be worth making it perfect.
Can I just add something here, which I think might be interesting? It's not only with NFTs. In the traditional art market, you have fakes as well, right? So this is not a question of NFT specifically, in my opinion. It's a question of overall integrity. So if someone wants to fake an artwork, if someone wants to copy it, if someone wants to steal from you, they will do it. It doesn't matter the technology.
Yeah. In addition, I think there is a lot of speculation in the art market. They didn't wait for the NFTs to come in. No, one thing that maybe you can see, and I think that worth something as well, is, for example, if you buy an edition, you can print it, and when you resell your NFT, the other person can also print it, and you can stay with your print. So it means if you are thousands of people reselling, the artist's work can be in 1,000 houses, and you spread the art, you spread the concept and so on. So at the end as well, you were saying you're going to a gallery and buying a piece and you support an artist. You can also do this in the NFT space. There is many young emerging artists or without this crazy speculation. That's actually what I'm trying to build here. I'm trying to build a place where you can come and you know that it's not speculative, it's related to an artist's CV, that it's related to their career, and you are supporting them and the ecosystem around them. And the price is not a speculative price. Then after, what you want to do with the NFT in the secondary market is to the regards of the people owning it. Maybe it will blow up, maybe not, but this is exactly the same in the physical world. You go to Sotheby's, you have a group of collectors who collected that specific artist and are just raising their hand just to push the prices up of their collection. It's exactly the same. So it's just, yes, again, do your due diligence, go to the right platform, look at the artist, see if it's worth this really as a collector, And then you will support an artist, a career, and eventually an ecosystem around them. And I think this is, yeah, if you compare both worlds, it's the same. We shouldn't lie to ourselves,
I just remember when I was listening to your question, a long one. A film by Orson Welles, F for Fake. That's a good one.
So do we have more questions? I've seen a hand there.
A couple more. One in the back, one in the front.
Oh, is there a couple of questions? Good.
Yes. Just a second.
Sorry, Astrid, I took your role.
No.
Thanks first very much to the panel for this evening. Very interesting and wide-ranging discussion. Thanks for that. So now my question for each of the panel members. If I am an artist or an architect in the city where you're living, and my goal is to create an NFT in order to promote a social event that I'm protesting. It could be female genital mutilation, it could be a war. And the goal is to promote first, because my philosophy is that if people own something, they will care more about an issue, right? Which blockchain and which exchange should I choose for my NFT? Thank you.
You're an activist.
I'll be the last.
Do you want to answer the question? The question, so let me try to repeat the question. If you're an activist or architect and you want to protest against something and for a cause, promote something, so express your opinion or tell a story, if I'm understanding it well, which platform would you choose to put that promotion of a social event? Which blockchain and which platform? Which blockchain to mint NFT and which platform to put it on to the world?
Artist or architect that is interested in a certain social issue, which blockchain and which exchange? Which platform? Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
So did you understand the questions? One thing is blockchain is one thing, right? So you mint the NFT, and the second thing is a platform. So some platforms actually collaborate with certain blockchains. So it's relatively interconnected. But if I may just add, and then you may correct me. So for example, OpenSea is a place where it's one of the first places, and there has a huge audience. And Ethereum, or also Polygon. Polygon is very useful as a blockchain, and it's also kind of a side chain of Ethereum. And it has zero cost, and it will allow you to mint very quickly an NFT. And then you can put it on OpenSea. But the thing is, do you have a community around yourself and a community of people where you can promote your work, which is a separate piece of marketing that you do to promote the work and promote the social issue that you're seeing? So for me, if I'm to answer this question, then it's your choice of which blockchain corresponds to your values, let's put it like that, or your criteria that you care about. Polkadot is the cheapest, and it has, as a side chain, it's also connected to Ethereum. You can use Tezos, which is proof of stake, so it may have less at this moment of gas fee or impact on a pollution, but nevertheless, then on the top of you putting an NFT, it's the question, where do you promote that thing so that you can create an audience and community that will value that, and you make the change that you may want to have? At least this is my answer.
Maybe look into doing good. Doing good, G-U-D. They are fundraising via NFTs for social project, any type. So it's not just art. And they are on Polygon platform, blockchain. So doing good is the platform, Polygon is the blockchain they are using to mint the NFTs. But I think they are pretty good. They have a really interesting approach. So I would advise them. If it's art related, we could talk, because that's the point of the platform, is fundraising for specific projects. But it's really just art. So, but I'm sure like more architecture and so on, they could be interested by your project.
Yeah. I would just add to what Laid said about OpenSea, and you don't really have to have any artwork. It could be just a black image or a colorful image or anything that's symbolic. It could be text, it could be a voice note, and then what you might need in order for the community, what is being used a lot is Twitter and Discord. This is where communities are developed and they are maintained, and I guess that's it. Just once it's promoted and once many people, as you said, own these NFTs, they would cherish them, and probably more people would want to invest in them because they become like a stock, you know, no matter what is hiding in them. You could also do something that is called unlockable content, which could be like a certain hidden thing for your NFT. That once it's purchased or acquired or given, transferred, it gets unlocked, and then that could activate some kind of membership or offer a secret password. And there are so many other like smart contracts that you could either adopt or even develop, that you could tweak to fulfill your cause's demands. So this could go on a different level, but then it requires some more investment.
Any more questions?
Just a tiny thing, just to tell you that one thing I would really advise you is partner with people in Web3. Like, don't try to do it yourself right now. It's flooded with projects. It's very, very complicated to be seen. As Led was saying, if you don't have a community, like your project is going to be not seen at all. So try to find the right partner in the space that can really push your project in the light. That's almost obligatory now.
Okay. So I just wanted to, I'm sorry, I'm going back to the last question. Very, very sorry for this, okay? But just adding something.
Put your mask off.
Okay.
You better?
Just adding something to the question of that gentleman, which is, as an artist, there's something that's really, really hard in the world, which is, if you are a digital artist, is saying, this is what I did. There are platforms, etc., can be copied already. But the thing is, what I believe that the NFTs and the blockchain will bring into this, it's like an artist being able to say, this is my work, and being unchallenged. So this is one aspect, but always when I see this discussion is always about the consumption part, right? Like the buying the art and ownership of the art, etc. I'm more interested in the other side of this, the side of the artist. Of course, he has to make money, etc. But it's like, this is my work, and I can prove it's my work. It's here. It was I put it here, somebody bought it. Of course, there's stealing, etc. But being able to say, this is my work, it's something that isn't possible right now in the digital world. And my belief is that the NFTs and the blockchain might change this, okay? So this is one aspect that I wanted to put there, okay? So it's not really a question, it's just
A comment. Thank you, Danielle.
Sorry.
Danielle, can I just ask you, you were creating your life sketch, right?
Yeah, not really. I take notes, she does the work.
So Rita, right?
Rita is creating the work, yeah.
Rita, is there anything we can see already?
Yeah, you can, but, well, it's drawn here, but if you can pass here, you'll see it. But we're going to create a digital version.
Mm-hmm.
There's already a minted version online which says coming soon, as you might expect.
Under which, where can we find it?
There's a QR code that you can show that somebody has in the slide somewhere out there.
I don't know if Ricardo has got it. I mean, I've pushed LiveSketch. LiveSketching is a company that is doing this for many years, but they never had an NFT.
10 years now, so.
So I pushed them, look, this is the right moment for you to actually mint an NFT. And Ricardo is going to put a code over there, so after this, somebody can buy that.
Okay.
Somebody anonymously or not. I just wanted to also push you a little bit to think about this world in a different way.
Thank you for that. If you're wondering about the price is the date from today, so that's how we came up with the price.
But questions, more questions?
Any more questions? Gentleman over there.
Oh, so here is a QR code of the live sketch that they have done. There is already some part of the product right there. Oh, somebody changed it. Go back. We need the QR code again. So if you want to buy the very first NFT of livesketch.com, a Portuguese company that is live sketching the events, this is your opportunity because this is a historic moment for this company. For the world as well. Why just stop the company? Very good.
I believe we have one more question.
So I have one final question that is probably going to raise a little bit of awareness or fear among people that are not in the NFT space. that is about concerning the money laundering or just the money schemes that people might create. Because let's say that I create an NFT and I mint it with one wallet, and then I pick up some of my billionaire friends or some friends of mine that have some money, and I transact it with, let's say, a value of $1 million. So I have already a historic of $1 million that is worth of that own NFT, and then I want to sell it, let's say, for minus 80% of the price or minus 90% of the price. So if I sell it, I'm going to gather up all the $1 million that I already had in the beginning because I was the one that created it, and then I bought it. So the $1 million never left my pocket. And after I sold it, I pocketed more $100,000. So one of the biggest concerns in the NFT space is actually this. And I wanted to know your perspective of how we can fix this and avoid these problems because it already happened. And although it's a space that is evolving every day, there's some type of schemes, not quite this one, but that are actually happening and that need to be avoided.
Sorry, please apply, not the soul.
I don't see the person, but hello. Thanks for the boring question. No, I'm kidding. How can we solve this? Well, I can tell you what we are doing, and we are studying with lawyers to make sure that this doesn't happen. But you have lots of countries in Europe, right, where you need to do KYC, which is making sure that the people buying on your platform, you have a proof of identity and a proof of residency. If there is any problem, like we can trace them. So, and I think this is for, at least in the UK, it's for a minimum amount, a piece that worth more than 10,000 pounds. Below, you are not obliged to do it. Then if you are waiting money, like, would you do it for a lower? I'm not sure. But that's what we are actually looking into and making sure that this is being respected because actually the governments are behind us for that. So it's not as simple and as easy as it sounds, at least as companies.
Okay. Thanks for the answer. But also regarding a little bit of the question of that gentleman before I go, which goes also to the physical space, is that obviously we have the legit and the operating companies that require the KYC, but obviously if it's not happening already because we probably don't know, there might be dark markets or shadow markets that are created so that people can sell this kind of NFTs or try to scam other people, as it also happens in the world because someone before asked how can we check the legit, the ownership or the actual, if the art is true. But in the real world, we can also check if an artwork is the real one or if it's a fake that easily. So, like, there's gonna also be a problem when you're trying to sell or buy an NFT or even a physical art, if there's nobody able to check if it's the first one or the original one. I don't know if I was.
May I just try to answer the first question that you had? Maybe every country should tax these people. You know, if you put a tax, you buy for $1 million. Maybe not everybody would be happy. You know, you buy for $1 million, and you put that's a scheme, and some of the lectures start with this. I go to a bank, I take 1 million euros, I buy my own NFT for €1 million, and then I give that 1 million euros to the bank. What people sometimes don't know that in certain countries you actually have to pay some taxes on that, and then you are 200,000 euros short. You know? But then you got to sell it for 100,000 euros to someone. But why would I buy it for 100,000 euros if it's worth 1 million? So there is a mechanism there that is not really clear. There is a speculation, and I think the more we know about these things, these speculations are going to disappear. The more we start treating this system not as a system for speculation, but for valuing things, we're going to see real things starting happen. So I think there is this period of time where the speculation is going to be more pronounced, and we're going to hear more of these things. But I guess there are some artists on your platform that are really getting some benefit of doing or being on that platform. They're selling their work and becoming worldwide known, et cetera, et cetera. Is that correct?
I think we are just starting, so they are not becoming worldwide known with us yet. They will, because we are working on building this community I was talking about earlier. No, but it's artists who are already, I'm repeating myself, but they are already building their career. So it's not like just doing one NFT that it's going to change it all. I don't think so. It's an addition, but I agree with you. I think the more, and that's why doing this discussion is super important, because the more people are going to know, the more people are going to get interested, the more people are going to get into the space, and we need way more people, you know, and we have been able to continue because we got fundings, because and someone told us, like the people who did the check, like the investors, they said, and they are crypto venture capital. And they told us, you know, we need experts in the space. We need people who are not crypto experts, but who are art experts and architecture and all creative, and even more like brands. And like you need more and more people in this space for this to stabilize as well. You know, it's like, it's still a very, very new thing. So the moment we all come in, and we all come in with our value, our interest, and so on, that's going to evolve and change, and it's going to find its own pace and way, you know, and yeah, so I think that's super important, this type of talk, for that.
So you you asked a second question about the identity also, and yeah, comment or question. So yes, as Pauline also said, some of these identities are not verified, and so any person can be scammed also from publicity, from buying products anywhere in the world. There are pharmaceutical products that are sold that could do you damage, the same way that NFT could be a scam. Anything could be a scam, okay? So this isn't limited to just NFTs. We have to do our own research. We have to know where we're investing and why. I think once we have these reasons figured out, we could go forward. Yeah, I guess that's it.
Any other questions? One more here.
So one question I have is, I've been trying to get my head around volume and pricing of NFTs in general. And some background, if you look at the photos market, for instance, there's an incredible volume of photography being produced and sold. So Apple quite famously stated the marginal cost of photography is zero, which is already being established in the marketplace. So for NFTs, there's two different forces at play that I see. One is the non-fungibility. So we're creating limited editions. And on the other side, we have generative art and AI producing large volumes. So you see sets being generated in the thousands. So any insights from the panelists towards what drives price and what should be fair pricing? I just saw the live sketch NFT went up for $172. Is that high? Is that low? So
You're a photographer?
I am, yeah.
Okay. What would be a fair price? And that's, I don't give advice, but I would price it with your market price. You know, like if you have that market price is for a reason, I believe. So for me, the price you should put is that one. In addition, in photography, because people could print it as much as you would sell it in a gallery, and your your numbering would be the same and your signature is in the blockchain. So I would consider the exact same price as the one you are already selling. Then after, I would advise you to make sure you have a royalty, because then secondary market is out of your hand. So make sure you are getting 10% royalty on what goes after. Then let the peace live, you know.
I think the question was also more focused on NFTs in general. So as an artist, I have a choice to select a set size of 20 200s. And since the cost of producing additional pieces of artwork with generative art and AI becomes very low. So the question is, are there any insights on what a set size could be, should be? You've also said it becomes a search problem at the end, and you need a community around it to be discovered. So these are forces at play, I believe.
I think you don't need to think about the amount, you need to think about your project itself and what makes sense. You know, like if you really have a project for a community and you are trying to build your community, it makes sense to do a lot. But again, doing a lot means you need to sell a lot. So you need to have a lot of marketing and communication around it. So do you have the right partners to do it or not? Don't try to do 2,000 or 5,000 if you have no collabs with you and you are completely on your own. If you have the right partners and the right strategy, yes. But then does it make sense in your art project? You know, like I've been, if you're coming and there is no sense around it, how can you explain it to the people who are going to buy it, you know? Well, on those projects that you have seen that are 2,000, 5,000 is because, again, there is a utility behind. It's kind of a membership club thing. So they are getting access to stuff. It's not just an artwork. So, yeah. I don't know if I'm replying.
No, it's good.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I think there's also a way to look at it like you see your artwork, for example. Imagine if somebody sees it for the first time and doesn't know who made it. How much do you think they are willing to pay to hang it on the wall? Imagine it as a physical print of your digital artwork, okay? Imagine yourself being the collector. How much would you pay for this artwork, assuming that you don't know who the artist is? Yeah, that's, I think this is how I go about pricing. And for a while, I've even done something called swapping on demand, which means I would mint the artwork without setting a price and let people contact me and ask me, hi, is this for sale? And I love this. I think this is a much fairer way to see things, because then you talk with your collector, you get to know them, and it's a nice connection, human connection between artist and collector, rather than you imposing a price and maybe struggling of whether you should bring it down, raise it, have some speculation behind it. Yeah, I think. Yes. Yes and no. So some art does not need to be explained. And I think it could mean a lot sometimes, like abstract art. Even though it's not my art, but I think a lot of abstract art movements are very provocative in emotions, and a lot of collectors were adoptive of it. Yeah.
Anybody else? Well, I'm gonna take Late to say our final words.
So, thank you all. You're very resilient, huh? It's 8:35. Thank you for this. This was the first event of the kind at Nova School of Business and Economics. We had also a lot of people online. I don't know how many exactly. We also touched parts of gender equity and something else.
Mm-hmm.
I asked people to tell me how many women do we have applying for our workshop tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
We have about 135 people who applied for the workshop, and at least half of them are women. I've seen many female.
Oh, that's very good.
And I think we any type of of technology that has started influencing how we interact, how we create value and appropriate value, is something that is moldable. What is the final shape of it depends on what are the values that we want to put there. I've heard very good questions about it's easy to steal, it's easy to take it away, it's easy to speculate. That's not the point. The point is it easy for somebody to create, or is it possible for somebody to make it easy to create an appropriate value in a better way? And that's what we are striving for. So if this event has in any way helped you think about it, helped you decide what would you like to see there, then the mission of the event is already achieved for me. Thank you very much. Nova School of Business and Economics is built as an open platform. This open space here and there tells about what we value. So I'm very grateful that we have started this type of, grateful to you that have been part of this start of the conversation about blockchain, art, AI. And I thank you all of the panelists here. And to you, Astrid. Can we give a round of applause for Astrid and for marvelous moderation here? Tomorrow is the workshop. If you're around, please join us. Al is going to lead this workshop. It's going to be...
it's going to be in room E008.
But we're going to have signals here so people can jump in. And,
at 11 a.m.
And we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Thanks a lot. Have a wonderful night. And thank you to the guys over here who are doing these things. Huh? We never say thanks to you.